Services.
Okay.
We're good.
This meeting of the Municipal Council will now come to order at 7 p.m. Please stand and join me in a salute to the flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We are going to go right to the mayor's communication.
I'm just getting ready.
Thank you.
Okay, February 20th, 2018. Dear Municipal Councilors, I respectfully submit a communication from Acting Water Superintendent Courtney Wunschel regarding the need to replenish funds that were used to purchase materials to replace 90 feet of water main on South Main Street. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body appropriate $9,900 from account Water Enterprise Fund retained earnings to account Water Enterprise Fund water main construction. Copies in your package.
Public Works Committee, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Personnel Director Owen Bebo regarding the need for funds to cover the retirement buyout of vacation and sick time of Library Director Joan Pilkington Smith upon her retirement on May 11, 2018. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body transfer $16,796.16 from account Citywide Reserve Fund for transfer to account Library Earned Time. Upon approval, the available balance in Reserve Fund for transfer will be $343,434.33. Copies in your packets.
Personnel and Human Services, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Superintendent of Park and Forestry, Derek Corsi, regarding the need for funds to repair the forestry bucket truck. The truck is used to trim high limbs and remove large trees and should be repaired as soon as possible. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body transfer $13,000 from account Park and Forestry salary and wages to account Park and Forestry equipment maintenance. Copies in your packets.
Public Works, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Legal Secretary Allison Wood regarding a fire engine that the fire department would like to declare surplus, and hereby respectfully request your honorable body to declare the following as surplus and available for disposition. Copies in your package. This is a 1988 Pierce fire engine with 72,688 miles on it. It's in average condition.
Thank you. City Property and Claims.
I respectfully submit a communication from Legal Secretary Allison Wood regarding water meters that the Water Department would like to declare surplus, and hereby respectfully request your honorable body to declare the following as surplus and available for disposition. Copies in your packets. There are 200 water meters, and the condition is used.
City Property and Claims, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Legal Secretary Allison Wood regarding a mower that the Recreation Department would like to declare surplus, and hereby respectfully request your honorable body to declare the following as surplus for trade-in or resale value and available for disposition. Copies in your packets.
City Property and Claims, please.
Thank you. For your information, I regret to inform your honorable body we have received the resignation of Andrew Sylvia from the Conservation Commission. I know you will join me in thanking Mr. Sylvia for his service to the city. For your information, I regret to inform your honorable body we have received the resignation of David Wood from the Personnel Board. I know you will join me in thanking Mr. Wood for his service to the city. For your information, the Historical Commission has appointed Brian Hatch, 34 Silversmith Road, Attleboro, and William Lewis, 82 Constitution Ave, Attleboro, to fill 2 expired terms as associate members of the Historical Commission. Terms will expire February 2020. Council confirmation is not needed for these appointments. I respectfully submit a communication from Chief of Police Kyle P. Hagney regarding the need for additional overtime due to an unanticipated major incident, retirements, and resignation with the police department. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body transfer $80,000 from account Citywide Reserve Fund for transfer to account police overtime. Upon approval, the available balance in Reserve Fund for transfer will be $263,434.33. Copies in your packet.
Public Safety and Emergency Management, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Fire Chief Scott T. LaChance regarding the need for funds to purchase the required uniforms and personnel protective equipment for 6 new firefighters anticipated to start on April 1st, 2018. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body to transfer $42,300 from account Citywide Reserve Fund for transfer to the following. $34,800 to account fire foul weather gear, and $7,500 to account fire uniforms. Upon approval, the available balance in the reserve fund for transfer will be $221,134.33. Copies in your packets.
Public Safety and Emergency Management, please.
Sincerely, Paul Peru, Mayor.
Thank you. Are there other communications?
There are a few this evening, Mr. President. We received a communication dated February 8th, 2018, from Attleboro Planning Board recommending the denial for the petition of John Brady, Marcia Brady, and Vela Inc. to rezone property on Newport Avenue.
Zoning and Land Use Committee, please.
We have received an application for 2018 Hawkers and Peddlers license from Renee Lum of Sycamore Avenue, Attleboro, dated February 12th, 2018.
License Committee, please.
We've received a communication dated February 14th from Massachusetts School Building Authority, or MSBA, reporting the board has approved the high school project for Attleboro.
Budget and Appropriations Committee, please.
We received a communication dated February 19th, 2018 from Frank B. Cook, Chairman of the Ad Hoc Civil War Monument Committee, regarding Sailors and Soldiers Monument at Capron Park.
Capital Improvements Committee.
And that is all, Mr. President.
Thank you. I will move right on to committee reports, and we will begin as usual with... Yes.
We don't usually have committee of the whole.
Oh, I skipped right over that, didn't I? Thank you for...
I point of order, though.
You did. Very good. I appreciate that.
I'm learning.
I entertain a motion to go into committee of the whole.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is there anyone who wishes to address the council on any matter of city business? If so, now would be the time. Okay. I entertain...
My name is Francis Balut, and I live at 120 Carrier Avenue, South Attleboro. I would just like to pass along a portion of information that I've recently acquired in reference to the word marijuana. Okay? What this particular article says, because I can discuss any subject, right?
No, actually, Francis, there is business before the council relative to that, and I don't think he can.
He cannot.
Not after the
Okay.
public hearing is
No,
closed.
and the public hearing is closed on that. So you,
I'll accept that, and I'll withhold the information I have.
thank you,
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
thank you. Anyone else that wishes to address the council? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to arise from committee of the whole.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you, motion passes. Now, going on to committee reports and starting, as usual, with Council Blair.
Thank you, Mr. President. Reporting Public Safety and Emergency Management. From the docket of February 20th, 2018, I move to approve the request of the mayor in accordance with Chapter 1, Section 12 of the revised ordinance of the City of Attleboro to allow the fire department to expend approximately $8,220 in any future grant amendments from FY18 Fire Education Grant from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, SAFE funds.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any discussion?
We discussed it in committee last week, I think, to pretty much extent. This is for our senior citizens and our children. They'll be using these funds for education-wise. And again, thanks to the grant writers that we have.
Any other questions? This requires a roll call vote, and the roll call vote will begin with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Mr. Kobus.
Yes.
Vice President Parika.
Yes.
Mr. Delicio.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Mrs. Holmes.
Yes.
Ms. Hall.
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
9 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. From the docket of February 20th, 2018, I move to approve the request of the mayor in accordance with Chapter 1, Section 12 of the revised ordinance of the City of Attleboro to allow the fire department to expend approximately $9,500 in any future grant amendment from the Emergency Managed Performance Grant funds.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any comments, Councilor Blair?
Same as the last one. Again, I want to state we're very fortunate for the grant writers. The new councilman will hear over time how much money we get from those grants, and these people that write them.
Any other questions? Comments? Hearing none. This requires a roll call vote. The roll call will begin with Counselor Hall.
Ms. Hall.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Mr. DeLisio.
Yes.
Vice President Parika.
Yes.
Mr. Kobus.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
President Cook.
Cooper, yes.
I'm actually looking at Cooper on my sheet here.
Motion
9
passes.
yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Again, my apologies.
No problem.
I was wondering why everyone hesitated.
Well, I did. I was waiting for you to say Cooper.
Thank you.
Won't happen again.
That's
From the
okay.
docket of February 20th, 2018, I move to approve the request of mayor in accordance with Chapter 1, Section 12, the revised ordinance of the City of Attleboro, to allow the police department to expend approximately $10,144 in any future grant amendments from a grant awarded via the 2018 Senator Charles E. Shannon Jr. Community Safety Initiative.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any questions?
This is a grant we share with Taunton. Right. And it's, again, like I said, you look at this, there's almost $30,000 in grants that we accepted tonight, so very fortunate.
Any other questions? Hearing none, this requires a roll call vote, and the vote will begin with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Mr. Kobus.
Yes.
Vice President Parika.
Yes.
Mr. DeLisio.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
Ms. Hall.
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
9 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion passes.
Thank you. I have no other business, public safety and emergency management this evening, and would request the committee make next week at the appropriate time. Would you like me to do Sarah's committee, or shall we wait till we get over to her in case she comes in?
Let's wait.
Do you want
Thank
me
you.
to do? Thank you very much, President Cooper. Reporting from Public Works. From the docket of February 20th, 2018, I move to approve the request of the mayor to transfer $22 from account Park and Forestry salary and wages to account Park and Forestry small equipment relative to a difference in price of a landscape utility trailer.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Councilor Parika.
We discussed this in committee last week. Between the time they made the recommendation and the time we voted it out of the council, that particular trailer was no longer available. They are giving us another better trailer for the small and modest $22 more.
Exactly. Any other questions? Hearing none, this requires a roll call vote, and the vote will begin with Councilor Hall.
Ms. Hall.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Mr. DeLisio.
Yes.
Vice President Parika.
Yes.
Mr. Kobus.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
9 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. That completes the work for Public Works for this evening, and call for a committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you. Councilor Conti.
Mr. President, the Committee on Capital Improvement and City Development is canceled for tonight. We look forward to meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you. Councilor Kobus.
All right, reporting for zoning and land use from the docket of February 20th, 2018. I move to approve the request of the mayor, the conveyance of the Judith H. Robbins Riverfront Park located on the northerly side of Olive Street and the southerly side of Wall Street and shown on Lot 1 on a plan entitled Judith H. Robbins Riverfront Park, Riverfront Drive, Attleboro, Mass.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Councilor Kobus.
All right, so this is a fairly straightforward conveyance. The area is giving this land back to us, and it's fairly straightforward.
Any other questions? Hearing none, this requires a roll call vote, and the vote will begin with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Mr. Kobus.
Yes.
Vice President Parika.
Yes.
Mr. DeLisio.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
Ms. Hall.
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
9 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
All right. From the docket of December 5th, 2017, I move in accordance with Chapter 40A, Section 5 of Mass General Law to amend certain sections of Chapter 17 zoning as follows. 1. Amend Section 17-3.4 11C Table of Use Regulations as follows. delete SMC under industrial and industrial business park and insert SP. Principal uses, community facilities, this is where, I'll continue reading. And then 2, amend section 17-10.15, registered marijuana dispensary uses as follows. Delete municipal council and insert zoning board of appeals. This has a deadline of March 19th.
Okay.
Thank you. Motion is in order.
All right, so we've discussed this quite a bit in the committee meetings, but I will just share with you, read from an email from the solicitor where she outlines the arguments in favor and against. So in favor, she says, there are definitely pros and cons to both choices. If you were to change the special permit granting authority to the Zoning Board of Appeals or the Planning Board, it may be easier for them to process such an application because they process special permit applications all the time and have the specialized knowledge of the process. Also, the City Council may not have the time to conduct the public hearings required for such special permit applications, considering all of its other duties. And then she said, in her argument against it, she says, on the other hand, the City Council is the special permit granting authority for RMDs and adult entertainment, and maybe it makes sense to leave such controversial issues within the jurisdiction of the Council. Also, now that the Council has issued one special permit, it may be more comfortable with the process and may want to leave the permit granting authority as the City Council. So, for me personally, I think there remains some value in having these special permit hearings in front of the municipal council, and I would like to see that continue at least for a period until these are no longer controversial. So I will not be supporting this, but I think it's important that we have this discussion and we allow the full council to vote.
Okay. Councilor Blair, I think I saw you first.
Todd, I agree with you very much on this particular matter regarding the marijuana. We are an elected body. We're here because of the voters. This affects them tremendously. The zoning board is an appointed body at the convenience of the mayor, or not convenience, but it's an appointed body, and they do a great job. I'm not saying anything about them, but I think the responsibility still lies with the council in matters of this magnitude. So thank you for your recommendation.
Anybody? Did I see? No? Council Pregan?
If I may, through the chair to Mr. Kobus, we did get a recommendation from the planning board, and they were in support of it. Is that correct?
We did, yes. The planning board came back and said that they supported this unanimously.
Okay.
And I do think ultimately this does belong with them, but not right now. And so ultimately down the road, I'd like to reintroduce this, but where we do have a deadline after having the public hearing. For right now, I think I won't be supporting it.
Yes.
So I also, I just wanted to, I'm grateful to the planning board for their deliberation of this. They did take their time, and so I'm grateful for their recommendation. I will also not be supporting this. I think that it's important to keep it with us. For now, I think that the former zoning chair went through the process, and we figured out other areas where we needed to do better. You're currently working on making those corrections, so I think we're streamlining the process, and I think moving it at this time, I don't think that's a really good idea. I think that you're doing a great job. I think you should be able to continue on with that, and as we go through these more and more, the process will become more straightforward. That was 2 words that I just said. Streamlined and defined, all in one. So I will support your non-support of this piece of business. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Hall, Delicio, then Holmes.
Although I don't disagree with anything that anybody said in terms of that perhaps there's a time period. I know there's a lot going on, a lot of controversy going on. I just feel that the RMDs are pretty solid right now. They've moved forward. We've gone through a lot of the processes. We have a process in place. I'd like to see it moved over there. It sounds like it's going to. So I'm just going to stick with that I'm for it. moving over to the zoning, and I'm going to just stay with that, but I do want to recognize that I do hear what my fellow councilors are saying, and there's nothing unreasonable about what they're saying, but I'm sticking.
Okay. Councilor Delissio.
Thank you. First of all, I think we're pretty lucky to have the zoning board and planning board that we have, and this is no way a slight on them. I think this, at this point in time, is putting the cart before the horse a little bit. So I would like to make sure that we get the ordinances, both for recreational and medical, buttoned up with the ultimate goal of bringing it over there. I do appreciate City Solicitor Galvin's opinion and her thoughts. However, it's our job. And if we need to find the time for the public hearing, that's what we're here for. So if we're looking at this, that we're an elected board and we need to deliberate on this, then we need to find the time for the public hearings as well, which we saw at the end of last term can certainly be tricky at times. But I would hate to see that a reason to push this over before it's ready to be pushed over. Thank you.
Councilor Holmes.
I agree with that. I think also it's a little bit, it's just too soon to do that. It's a fragmented system, and we would be pushing it on to them, and it's not fine-tuned yet. So I think that if that's the ultimate goal, I'm supportive of that. But I think right now, because this is the first time around or second time around when it needs to stay here. So I will be voting no as well.
Okay. Any other questions? Comments? Hearing none, this requires a 2/3 roll call vote, and the vote will begin with Councilor Hall.
Ms. Hall.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
No.
Ms. Dolan.
No.
Mr. Delissio.
No.
Vice President Perica.
No?
Mr. Cobus.
No.
Mr. Conti.
No.
Mr. Blair.
No.
President Cooper.
Yes.
2 yeas, 7 nays.
Motion fails.
Fails.
All right.
Clovis.
And then, so we have another zoning and land use meeting scheduled for next Monday, and that concludes my business.
Call for a committee meeting.
Call for a committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Just a point of order. I do have a point of order. With that particular piece of business, was it 2/3 of people present or 2/3 of the full council?
Council.
It's 2/3 of the full council.
Yeah, I would say, definitely.
Then we need 8 to pass?
Yeah,
Well,
so
to
it
pass,
failed.
and so it failed. That's right, okay.
Failed.
I'm like, wait a second. I did that all backwards in my head.
Yes, I did do it first. Thank you. Councilor Perica.
Parika, Traffic and Transportation does not have any business for this evening. However, a pleasant reminder that we are having a field trip tomorrow. We are meeting at I've invited my committee as well as the Traffic Study Commission to review parking issues over on Stobbs. We'll be meeting at the library parking lot at Bishop Fee High School. We're meeting with the president there, and then we'll be moving to Riverbank Road. So if you are around tomorrow and would like to join us, 11 o'clock is the time. And that concludes, I call for a committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Great, thank you. Councilor Delissio.
Thank you, President Cooper. Reporting for budget and appropriations, I have 2 pieces of business tonight. From the docket of February 20th, 2018, I move to approve the request of the mayor to authorize the school department to pay previous year's school bills totaling $1,882.70 regarding fiscal year 2017 fiscal obligations that did not make the fiscal 2017 business cycle.
Second?
Thank you. Sorry, I'm writing. Motion's in order. Councilor Delissio.
Thank you. This is contractual. We have to pay these obligations that came in. It's just ships in the night of when they came in, when where we were in the business cycle.
Yep. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, this is a 2/3 roll call vote. It is a previous year's bill. It requires a 2/3 vote, and the vote will begin with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Mr. Cobus.
Yes.
Vice President Perica.
Yes.
Mr. Delissio.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
Ms. Hall.
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
9 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you, President Cooper. From the docket of February 20th, 2018, I move to approve the request of the mayor to transfer $35,010 from account 1124100-578-300 Citywide Reserve Fund for transfer relative to special state election / city debt exclusion / municipal ward 6 election to the following accounts: $14,000 to election salaries election, $550 from election building rental, $7,600 election printing and repro, $4,000 election and professional services, $7,500 election police, $1,100 election supplies, election equipment, $260 election POD rental.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order.
Thank you. So this is straightforward. It's to pay for the special election coming up on April 3rd.
Any other questions or comments? Here, yes, Council Hall.
Can I vote on this?
You probably should not.
Thank you. I'll excuse myself.
Thank you. This requires a roll call vote, and we will begin with Councilor Holmes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Mr. DeLisio?
Yes.
Vice President Parika?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
President Cooper?
Yes.
8 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. And that is all the business for budget and appropriations, and we'll call for a committee meeting next week at the appropriate time.
Thank you. City property and claims is, who's Peter?
Peter.
Councilor Blair.
Oh, excuse me, you canceled that?
That's okay.
Thank you. Reporting for city property and claims from the docket of February 20th, 2018. I move in accordance with Section 1-12 of the revised ordinance of the City of Attleboro to accept the following donation of 15 water filters bubblers with an estimated total value of $18,000 from the YMCA of Attleboro, a new Matter Mod 3D printer with an estimate value of $200 from 4 Studley Elementary School from an anonymous donor, and 2 used Kavisha Chromebooks with an estimated combined value of $250 for the Attleboro High School from Richard Stenbeck.
Second.
Thank you. Hold on 1 second.
Did I get that right?
Yes, but that's not the motion that I have in front of me.
Not the one you have? You know something? Not the one that was probably last week. No. I have 2 here. So you have, I'll pull that one back. I don't know why, but I had 2. Have you got the one that's...
Hold on, Councilor.
He does have the one with the sticky on it. That's the one that you need. That's the one.
I realized that. I
Okay.
thought I had already
Who
had a copy.
seconded that?
I did. I withdraw my second.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilor Blair.
Reporting from City Property and Claims Committee. In the docket of February 6, 2018, I move to transfer $3,067.96 from account 1124100-578-300 Citywide Reserve Fund for transfer to account 161-01000-558330 Library Copiers regarding funds to purchase a replacement for the main copier in the library that is beyond repair.
Second.
Thank you.
I think that's pretty self-explanatory.
I
We
agree.
can't fix it, we gotta replace it.
I agree. Any other questions? Hearing none, requires a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
From the docket of February
You
6th,
didn't say opposed. Sorry. Hold on 1 second, Peter. Let me just... Is there anyone opposed? Hearing none. Motion passes. Thank you.
from the docket of February 6, 2018, I move in accordance with Section 1-12 of the revised ordinance to the City of Attleboro to accept the donation of $250 in Stop and Shop food cards from an anonymous donor to the Health Department.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Councilor Blair.
Another great gift from somebody who doesn't want their name used.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, this requires a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Motion passes.
From the docket of February 6, 2018, I move to accept a donation of real estate parcels located off Slater Street, more specifically as shown on A&R plan of land recorded in Bristol County Register of Deeds, Book 510, page 64, Assessors Plat number 136A, Lot 1, containing a land mass of 27.06 acres, Assessors Plat 136A, Lot 2, containing a land mass of 8.48 acres, and Assessors Plat number 213, Lot 2, containing a land mass of 27.17 acres. They are to be placed under the stewardship of the Conservation Commission for the purpose of conservation of natural resources and passive recreation, including but not limited to the conservation of species listed pursuant to the Mass Endangered Species Act.
Second.
Thank you. Council Blair.
It's a large portion of land, and I personally know nothing about the parcel, but I assume that a lot of it's wetland, and it's coming from a good source, so I would say we might as well take it. I don't think it's on the tax rolls for much money. That seems to be, or they wouldn't be giving it to us.
Any other questions? Councilor Holmes and then Parika.
Where is this located?
It's off Slater Street. I think it's down around your way somewhere.
Is this where the old dump was, or no?
It's the backside of the dump, I think.
Okay. One person did reach out, and there was concerns about that. So I don't know if it's worthy of a conversation.
I don't know what their concern would be, Diana. With it going this way, nothing will be done with it.
Okay.
So it will stay in conservation. You wouldn't have to worry about somebody going in and putting a house in the middle of something that may or may not be harmful.
Okay.
So I would get back to them on that.
Okay.
Thank you, President Cooper. Diana, I did meet with the conservation agent with regards to that, because I did see there was some hubbub on social media about it and things like that. These parcels of land don't even touch where the former, what was it called? The Attleboro landfill. It doesn't even touch those particular areas. So there's not concern about runoff or anything like that. They're unbuildable lots. There's a significant amount of endangered species, salamanders and whatever that are on there. So it's a very generous gift to the city. And, people reached out to me with the same concerns, so that's why I went and saw Mr. Wiley about that. But it isn't, he pulled out the map, we looked at it on the computer, they don't touch. So those concerns were, there was no foundation for those concerns.
Okay.
Any other? Councilor Conti.
So I too heard from constituents who said, nice that people want to give us land that they don't want to pay taxes on. And this land is mostly wet on the backside of the landfill. And another constituent said, that's great, they're going to give us, we're going to take them off the tax roll and make conservation use, and that's for passive recreation, will be the only place to park a car. And another one called and said, can I go hunting there? And that opened up a whole other can of worms. And finally, one final person called and said that they're not making any more land. You should take all the land you can get to preserve it and keep it as open space. So I heard a wide range of people giving me comments on the issue. While I think that the city could use the tax dollars, I think the last comment I made is most poignant, that they're not making any more land, and this can be conservation land, and that I do think that in the future we should consider mandating that if people want to donate land, that they provide a parking area for a couple of cars so that it can be used by people instead of parking on the road. But that's subject to whatever land is being donated and what the other conditions are, and we may not be able to put those conditions on a donation. A donation is to either take it or not. So it's more complicated than it seemed in the beginning, but I'll be voting in favor of it. And that concludes my comments.
Thank you. Councilor Delissio.
Thank you. Initially, my comments were just going to echo Councilor Blair and Vice President Parika saying that this land is in with the right people. I mean, the Conservation Commission, this is what they do, so I'm glad to see they have it. I would hesitate to put any sort of mandate on a donation. I mean, they're certainly not making any more land, so I don't think that it would behoove us at this point to make it more difficult for people who want to donate land, especially over the years where we've had such heated discussions over open space recreation, things of those nature. So I would just caution that I think mandating parking spaces, because we paint with a broad brush, might be land that doesn't even warrant a parking space. So I'd hate to see us put more work in front of the boards that are accepting the donations. Thank you.
Councilor Conti.
If I could respond to Councilor Delissio, I did say to the constituent that when someone donates lands, it's yes or no. We can't mandate that they put in parking area. And I have no intention of making that kind of a motion to stall this. And it was just a conversation that came up, and it's wishful thinking. That concludes my comments.
Thank you. Councilor Hall.
And this is just a comment also, and I think that was Mr. Blair who brought this up one time when I had some piece of land that I was taking over. As long as the land is, we've looked at the land and it doesn't feel as though the city's going to take on some sort of burden that comes with the land in terms of cleaning up something. So I appreciate the fact of you finding out that. I'm sure that was probably the concern, that we're going to take on something that now we're going to have to clean up, and they're just, you know, doing this. So thank you to the people that offered the land, and thank you for the due diligence on the land, if you would. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Hearing none, this does require a roll call vote, and the roll call will begin with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Mr. Kobus.
Yes.
Vice President Parika.
Yes.
Mr. Delissio.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
Ms. Hall.
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
9 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. I have no other business for city property and claims, but we would request a committee meeting next week at the appropriate time.
Thank you. And Councilor Dolan, I apologize. I skipped right over you and went right to Councilor Blair.
That's okay. License Committee has no business this evening. I'd like to call for a committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you.
See that? I remembered you, Roland.
Councilor Holmes.
Let's see here. I don't have any business for Personnel and Human Service Committee tonight. I will call for a committee at the next appropriate time, but I do have some business for ordinance, elections, and legislative matters.
Thank you.
And I'll excuse
But
myself.
before you start that, Councilor Hall is going to recuse herself. Thank you.
From the docket of February 20th, 2018, I move to approve the request of the mayor to approve the submittal of the following question to the voters at April 3rd, 2018 election. Ballot question: shall the city of Attleboro be allowed to exempt from the provisions of Proposition 2 and 1.5, so-called the amounts required to pay for the bond issued in order to design, construct, equip, and furnish a new high school located at 100 Rathburn Willard Drive, Attleboro, Massachusetts, including the payments of all costs, incidentals, or related thereto? Yes or no?
Second?
Thank you. The motion is in order. Councilor Holmes.
This is just to add that ballot question for April 3rd, 2018.
Any other questions? Comments? No? Okay. This does require a 2/3 roll call vote, and the vote will begin with Councilor Holmes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Mr. Delissio.
Yes.
Vice President Parika.
Yes.
Mr. Kobus.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
8 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
All eight.
Yeah,
Just made it.
I know. That's why I
Yeah.
said. Councilor
Paul.
Hall. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll move right into the second one. From the docket of February 20th, 2018, I move to approve the request of the mayor to accept the Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 53, Section 18B, as amended in preparation for the proposed April 3rd, 2018 debt exclusion ballot. Oh, did I get the wrong? No, I got the right one. Question, so that the city of Attleboro would be authorized to provide the voters of Attleboro with important information concerning the debt exclusion.
Second?
Thank you. So this is, I can vote on this one because this is really just to be able to appropriate money for them to get information out to some of our constituents and residents, and that's a good thing. So I will approve this. I will favor this.
Thank you. Any other questions? Council Holmes?
I have a few questions. Does this go to every person in Attleboro, the mailing, or I guess I don't know?
Yeah.
My suspicions would be that it's just, it could go to, I mean, this is really just to make sure they have the money to do any kind of advertising that they want, could go to everybody. I don't know what the actual details of it would be, but I would think that it goes to a variety of different advertisements.
My thought is it goes to the registered voters.
Yes.
It's not going to go to every household or resident, but every
Yeah.
registered voter.
Thank you.
The council sent if I may, the council just sent a request to do the advertising necessary for this, and it will be the yay and the nay that has to go to people to put that language on the ballot. So all of that will be captured under this. We never adopted this as a city. That's why we need to do this to afford the citizens the opportunity to get yay and nay positions and to put yay and nay positions on the ballot. Any other questions? Council Parika?
And I also inquired about that, and it goes to, so if there are 4 registered voters in your household, you get 1 piece.
Right.
Okay.
So instead of, not everybody, so it's not my husband, myself, and my daughter that we get 1 piece of mail, so that's a way of affordable. Yeah, it's the household, so that makes it a little bit more affordable.
Okay.
But it is specifically to registered voters in the city.
Any other questions? Hearing none, this is a roll call vote required, and the vote will begin with Council Blair.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Mr. Cobus.
Yes.
Vice President Parika.
Yes.
Mr. Delisio.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
Ms. Hall.
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
9 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes. Council Hall.
From the docket of December 19th, 2017, I move to strike the following item from the docket of December 19th, 2017, the request of Linda Blodgett from 21 Prospect Street, Attleboro, Mass. to use the dog park with dog owners' own lighting until 7 p.m.
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Council Hall.
I don't want to talk too much about this. We had an extensive conversation. I think it's sort of would have a snowball effect that we probably don't want to have at this time. So that's it.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, this is a voice vote. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Council Hall.
Yes, before I close up the ordinance elections and legislative matters, I'd like to first thank Mr. Cooper. Mr. Cooper and I had a conversation in regards to the vote last Thursday, which was simply to put this matter of a loan to the planning board for study and recommendation and to set up a public hearing. So I had a conflict, and I appreciate the conversation that you had with that and allowing me to make that decision to be able to go attend to my conflict. So
You're welcome.
thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And that, people know how important these votes are to me, but this was just to move it over into the planning board to get it started. So just wanted to make that clear. The other thing is, I think we've all seen this, but just for the public, March 19th, this is going to be a very, very interesting discussion about the intersection improvements at Route 1, Route 1A, and Route 123, which I know a lot of people are concerned about watching, want to see what's going on. So I just want to tell everybody, this will be at Attleboro Public Library in the Balfour Room on March 19th at 6 p.m., and I'm sure it'll come back up again.
So if you could just give a copy to all councilors of
Yes.
that, and to make sure that the Transportation Traffic Study Commission
Absolutely.
also gets a copy and is aware of the date. Thank you.
It's a stack, but good stuff. Just a couple updates real quick, so that when it comes to Tuesday, I did want to make sure that everybody knew. The automobile rental license motion that we spoke of Chapter 140, just so you know, I did speak to the solicitor. They can't find it either, so it looks like it's gone. So what I'm going to end up doing is striking that. And that was somebody, new business that brought here, so that's one. The other thing is we did have a long conversation about the hawkers and peddlers. And the good news is that we've come up with some terminology, I guess, I don't want to say bad news, but in looking at that entire ordinance, the solicitor did point out a lot of inconsistencies. So what a surprise that we're in there. And so, and it wasn't written by, I'm not sure if it was written by any of us here. It doesn't matter. But we're going to actually look at all the inconsistencies and try to actually amend that entire section so it makes sense. We figured that was probably the best thing to do. So be prepared for that at some point. Then I'll figure out what to do with what the actual motion that's still on the table once we do that. So that's where we're going. And that then concludes the business of the ordinance, elections, and legislative matters. Thank you.
Just 1 second. Committee meeting next week at the
Yes,
appropriate-
please. Can I have a committee meeting? I would love to have a committee meeting next
Thank you.
Tuesday.
Council Conti.
In regards to the business just reported on by the chairman of the ordinance committee, would I be out of order to send a letter to the owner of Looney Tunes that he is allowed to open up his rental car business without a license from the city of Attleboro?
I think we should, I don't think so, but I think we ought to discuss that via email through the solicitor. So if you want to send that to me,
Okay, well, thank you.
and we can forward that on to the solicitor for an opinion. Any other business? No. Okay.
I'm done.
There is one item with two motions of old business, and for that I will recognize Councilor Conti.
Thank you, Mr. President. From the docket of January 2nd, 2018, I make a motion to take from the table, the request of the mayor to appropriate $44,169.40 from account 1000-359000, undesignated fund balance free cash, general government, to account 15431000582-512 Veterans Monument for the restoration of the Soldiers and Sailors Monument.
Second.
That was a tie.
Was it a three-way tie?
Heather Parika. I'll give it to the Vice President. Councilor Conti.
This motion carries no discussion and requires a two-thirds vote, I believe.
No,
Majority vote.
Sorry, majority vote.
No problem. So this requires a roll call vote, and the vote will begin with Councilor Hall.
No, but can you?
This is, yes, let me tell you what you're voting for. I'm sorry, I apologize for that. So what we are voting to do is to lift this from the table to get it before the council for discussion. So this first motion is non-debatable, non-amendable, and is a majority of the council, and we are just bringing it before the council to discuss.
Thank you.
In the subsequent motion that Councilor Conti brings forward.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, thank you. The vote begins with Councilor Hall, I think.
I'm not sure. I think it's Mr. Blair, but...
Oh, Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Mr. Kobus?
Yes.
Vice President Parika?
Yes.
Mr. Delisio?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Ms. Hall?
Yes.
President Cooper?
Yes.
9 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes. Councilor Conti.
From the docket of January 2nd, 2018, I move to approve the request of the mayor to appropriate $44,169.40 from account undesignated fund balance free cash, general government, to Veterans Monument for the restoration of the Soldiers and Sailors Monument.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Councilor Conti.
Yes, I want to thank Linda Alger for circulating a memo to all councilors correcting any misstatements I may have made in the any errors I may have reported in the first time we discussed this. And I'd also like to thank Councilor Kobus for revisiting the monument and having a meeting with Linda and Frank Cook. You did that out of your own motivation as a veteran and concern, and I appreciate that, and I think that's the foster that makes a good council, when you step up and go check it out for yourself. That's very good. So kudos to you. In this regard, I have no question that there's a need to restore the statue. In fact, it's been in the capital improvement plan now for 3 years, I believe, and it deserves to be there. My my issue is the source of funding. And I have been kept awake at night on this because it's not good to tell the veterans, no, you don't want to fund the restoration of their monument. But I've earned the right to say that because I raised $87,000 to build the South Attleboro Veterans Memorial Pavilion with public money. And I learned how to do that from Andy Nemrowski, who with Tom Tully raised over $100,000 to raise the Veterans Memorial Pavilion on the corner of Pleasant Street and Park Street, all public money. So I see the need that this needs to be done, but I've spent 2 years of my life with the vets at my side, shoulder to shoulder, Carl Bradshaw, Paul Pouliot, a team of men that work very hard, and women, and raising that $87,000 was hard. It is hard. It's not easy. And I think if Andy Nemrowski was still alive, he would say, and Tom Tully would say the same thing about Pleasant Street. In this year, we have about $220,000 left in free cash, and to take $45,000 out now would diminish that even more at a time when I would rather see the money be spent in other pressing needs, such as Beagle Club Road parking lot. So, for those reasons, the fact that I know that the veterans, when they put their shoulders to it, can be very successful. They've proven it in the past. I do believe that this should be public money to restore the statue rather than all the taxpayers, where there are so many pressing needs in the city for the taxpayer dollars. And that concludes my comments.
Thank you. Councilor Cobus, Rita Blair.
All right, thank you. So I sat down on Saturday morning with former Council President Frank Cook and Linda, and we reviewed the statue, the monument, and the history behind it. And my biggest question 2 weeks ago was, why do we need to do this now? Why is it important that we do this year, and can't we push it off one more year? And so it was good to hear the details of what exactly was being repaired, what the actual status of the monument is. And there is irreparable damage being caused. Some of the things being restored would be, they'll restore the bronze, obviously, back to its original brown color and all of that, protect it. And no evidence could be found of any protective coating having ever been applied to it in the past. They'll also clean and restore the granite, replace a couple of the missing or stolen items. I didn't even realize when I first went out and looked at it that there were supposed to be cannonballs along the four corners, as well as either a sword or a rifle in one of the soldiers' hands. So that will be replaced. And then I didn't also realize the statue at the top had rotated by about ½ an inch. And there's some questions about the structural integrity that could be caused by that. So everybody has copies of this PowerPoint that I put together and put in everybody's mailbox. So it became clear to me that there's a real need for this to happen. And then furthermore, I understood the process a little bit more. And hearing from Frank talk about how year after year since at least 2007, before the 100th anniversary of this statue, he's been working to try to get this repaired. And year after year, there's been something else that's been a higher priority. It was either the POW 9/11 monument, the Veterans Pavilion in South Attleboro, or just bad economic times. Every year it's been delayed. And so this year they've gone through and received bids, and people have flown out from California and all over to provide bids. And every one of those required people to go up in the bucket truck and look at the statue. We've moved quite a ways down in the process. We have a bid for $43,000, which includes a $10,000 contingency. I think that's reasonable. Initially, it was estimated to cost about $80,000. So the bid that came in is coming from a reputable company out of Woburn. It's the cheapest bid we've received, and all we need to do is approve it to move it forward and get it done this year. And as a veteran, I think it's important that we do this in show, out of respect, show our respect for former, current, and future veterans. I think it's incredibly important, and that concludes my statement.
Thank you.
You did call me.
I did. I was going to give up this chair, but I think I'll call you first, Councilor Blair.
Thank you.
And then I'll give up the seat and we can go to Council Hall.
Thank you, President Cooper. Somehow, some way, I don't know what the history was of this monument. I don't know how Attleboro paid for this back in 1908, but it then became our responsibility to maintain it. It's apparent to me. I know that we've taken a couple of votes on this council to make repairs to the Veterans Memorial down in South Attleboro. You raised the money. We're incredibly grateful. It's a beautiful facility, but now it's our responsibility to maintain it. There's no difference between this monument and the Veterans Memorial Pavilion down in South Attleboro. We have a tendency to create parks and do all sorts of things here in the city, and then we struggle to either have the manpower, machinery, or the funding to maintain them. For this, I think that Capron Park, everyone knows I walk there every single morning. It's a beautiful monument, and there's a monument or plaque to every war or conflict that we've had ever in this park. It is, as I've heard 150,000 times, Capron Park is the jewel of the city. So it is our responsibility, yet again, to make sure that one of the jewels in the crown is maintained. I think that we spend money on a whole variety of things in a variety of ways. I think this is an excellent use of some funds. Again, if we're going to put a parking location at the end of Beagle Club Road, we'll also be required to maintain that, and we're going to have to pay for that too. I don't think that neglecting something that was once in the middle of Gilbert Perry Square and then made its way over to Capron Park and is visited, if you could have seen the park today, the place was packed. It's our responsibility to maintain this, just like it is any of the other memorials in the city. And it has my full and complete support.
I'm Councilor Blair, and then
I don't want to repeat everything that Heather said, but when we own something, we should maintain it. I've been an advocate of maintenance ever since I've been on the council. There's a difference between a piece of donated property and a piece of property we own. We raised $40,000 in 30-odd days for the van back 8 years ago or whatnot, but that was private, and then it was given to the city, and luckily we had a contingency fund. We had money left over, so it stayed for the maintenance. In fact, I think there's still a few bucks left in it, but once we accept anything, whether it be a vehicle, that statue, which means a lot to a lot of people. I read the article in the Attleboro Sun. We sent, how many from the city of Attleboro at the time went to the Civil War? It was a great number. Was it a big percentage of the men in this town at that time, men, served in the Civil War. I think we owe it to them to make sure that that statue, the integrity, stays the way it is. And I'm glad Todd had a chance to go over it. I thought it was a no-brainer to start with, and I didn't really get involved in it, but that statue has needed repair for quite some time. So we spent $5 million the other night in a snap of the finger, so, you know, $40,000 for this statue. I think it's about time it got fixed.
thank you.
Recognize Mr. Cooper.
Thank you. So again, I will say that I have regular recurring meetings with the current administration, and he was in my meeting. He was in full support of this through his discussion with the former mayor who sent this down. There is some money and the reason why he sent this down to be funded, city side, was there was some money that was found through renegotiating insurance policies for the city. And both of them, the current and the previous administration, felt it was time to get it done. I will say that this is not a new statute in the city. The reason the South Attleboro didn't, I was at some of those meetings, not nearly as many as you, Councilor Conti, but I'm not going to let you take all the credit because Councilor Ross was there, and Councilor Churchill was also at many of those meetings regarding that monument at the Legion and that pavilion at the Legion. And yes, it did raise a significant amount of money, and it's beautiful, and lots of people use it, especially during football season time and other events that happen down there. But we do spend city money to fix it. The cameras go over to the police station, and we had to do some maintenance recently there, and it's beautiful. But I just think that the time has come to do this. We have the money. If times were different, maybe I would feel differently about it. But we've neglected it at the expense of other things for probably much longer than we should have, and the time to do it is now. So I too will be in support. Thank you. Councilors Hall and then Delicio.
Thank you. I want to thank Councilor Kovas also, because I know when we first had the conversation, you were very skeptical. And I love skeptic, because then you go out and you find out the information and all the work that you did on it. I did get a chance to talk to our Veteran Service Officer, Ken Bodicher, about this at length too. And I think one of the things in particular that was brought up here by everybody was this particular statue is really in disrepair, and we don't want it to get to a point where we can't repair it. That would be devastating. To have a statue like this in our, be it a veteran statue or a Civil War, we have great history over there at the park, and I think that's really important that we try to maintain that history and keep it looking nice. So I do appreciate all the comments that were made tonight. I also appreciate, Mr. Conti, your comment. I mean, when we do things, we have to make sure that when we build things that we know there's a maintenance tail to it, and I think that's kind of the conversation that people have had these past few days, is making sure that whatever we choose to do, we have to remember that there is a maintenance tail that goes along with that, and we're sort of putting that responsibility onto the future councils, if you would. So we just need to be very, very cognizant. So I do appreciate the conversation, and as a veteran also, I do appreciate that we are going to fund the Civil War Monument. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Delicio.
Thank you. If you'll remember, the committee came to us with great vigor last fall explaining the project. The committee's all volunteers. They're volunteering their time, volunteering their resources. These are people who know what they're doing. These are people who I think we've all grown to respect. Frank, Linda, Brian, Hans, they're all, and if they're involved, rest assured, the due diligence was done by the buckets. This is what's necessary at this point to get the job done, especially if it's a potential public safety issue. If we don't remember where we've been, we're never going to know where we're going. Personally, to me, it's too bad that this has even gotten to this point. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Hearing none?
Oh,
Dick?
sorry. I have
Councilor Holmes.
I'm in support of funding this. I did get a lot of people reach out. I think we all did. I was just wondering, does anybody know if this would be completed this year or what the time frame would be? I don't know if anyone has the answer.
The intent is, thank you. The intent is for it to be completed this year in time for the 110th anniversary of this statue.
Okay.
Nice.
Great. Thank you.
Goosebumps.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, this requires a roll call vote, and the vote will begin with Council Hall.
Ms. Hall.
Absolutely, yes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Mr. Delicio.
Yes.
Vice President Parika.
Yes.
Mr. Kovas.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
No.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
8 yeas. I'm sorry, 9 yeas, 1 nay.
No. 8. Conti was nay.
8-1.
8-1. Motion passes.
8 yeas, 1 nay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I stand correct. Yes, I'm sorry. 8 yeas, 1 nay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion passes. And on to new business.
Thank you very much, President Cooper. From the docket of March 6, 2018, I move to refer the following matter to the appropriate committee for study and recommendation to install a no parking here to corner sign on Pine Road at Washington Street.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Council President.
I've had some emails have come in to our admin to Virginia. This one, if Sarah's watching at home, my apologies, I didn't get to reach out to you before I introduced this, but this is, on Pine Road is down by Socorro. They have a lot of parking issues next to Lee's Pond when, at nighttime. So if, I told her I would bring this forward, I'll speak to the DPW. It's a good place marker for me to make sure that I remember to take care of it.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all in, voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes 9-0. I'm going to refer that to Transportation and Traffic. And Councilor Parika, would you like to refer that to Traffic Study for study and recommendation?
Yes, I would, Mr. President.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you very much. From the docket of March 6, 2018, I move to refer the following matter to the appropriate committee for study and recommendation to install a stop sign at Lilac and Springdale Roads, as well as Springdale and Orchard Lane.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Councilor Parika.
Thank you again. I received an email with regards to this. I spoke to the constituent who has some concerns in that area. And when I find out more, take a little tour out there, I'll bring it back to and have it. I'm assuming it'll go to traffic study, and I'll come back to the council for recommendation.
Great. Again, this requires a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, passes 9-0. That will be referred to Transportation and Traffic. And would you like to refer that to the Traffic Study Commission?
Yes, ma'am. Sir. Sorry.
Thank you. It's been called worse. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. That matter is referred to Traffic Study and Transportation and Traffic.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. That is, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We're adjourned 8:06.
Have a snack.